$252,000. That is what Alexandra Eala collected after one single week of work in Washington, D.C. Now put a second number right next to it and genuinely sit with it for a second. $25,000. That was the entire prize purse of the first professional tournament she ever won, back in Chiang Rai, Thailand, in 2022. Not her share. The whole event, every round, every player from the champion down to the first person eliminated, combined together. 4 years sit between those numbers. And honestly, the gap is the least significant part of this story, even though it is what every headline led with this week, because money is a language everyone understands instantly. What almost nobody explained is the number underneath the surface. Before Washington, she had 1666 ranking points and sat 28th in the world. After Washington, she had 2116, and alongside that she became the first player from the Philippines in the 51-year history of the WTA to reach the top 20. Not top 100, not top 40, top 20. 20 human beings on the planet, and she is now one of them. That is not a trophy line for a graphic. It is a mechanical threshold built into how this sport works, and crossing it just unlocked 3 specific things that a player ranked 28th genuinely cannot touch. Those 3 things, and what they do to her career starting in 3 weeks in New York, are what this video is about. To understand why that threshold matters at all, you first need to understand what this sport actually costs outside the top 100. There is no contract waiting for you while you develop, the way there is in basketball or football, where somebody hands you a salary before you have proven anything. In tennis, you are a one-person business, and you are also the entire expense column. You pay the coach, the flights, the hotels, the restrings, the physio when your shoulder starts complaining, the visa, the extra baggage fee for a bag full of rackets. Nobody reimburses a single cent lose in the first round on a Tuesday, and you fly home having lost money at your own job, same as anyone else who had a bad week at the office. Now add the piece that almost nobody accounts for in her case specifically. There has never been a WTA event in the Philippines, not one, ever. An American junior can drive to a tournament. A Spanish player can take a train. A French player can play half a season without leaving her own country. Every single event of Eala's entire career has meant an international plane ticket, because there is no cheap week available to her, and there never has been. So her family looked at the cost, the distance, and the absence of any Filipino who had ever pulled this off, and sent her to train at an academy in Mallorca anyway, as a child, on a scholarship and a guess about how it might turn out. That decision, not any match, is the true beginning of this story. By 2025, the bet finally looked like it was paying off. In Miami, on a wild card, she beat Madison Keys and world number 2 Iga Swiatek, reached the semifinal, and became the first Filipino woman in the top 100. But that run created a problem almost nobody outside professional tennis understands. WTA points expire exactly 52 weeks after you earn them. A huge week does not just add points, it starts a clock, because you eventually have to match it or watch it disappear. She didn't quite match it. A final at Eastbourne slipped away, and an early loss at Roland Garros let points fall off with nothing replacing them. She finished around 50th, which sounds fine but is actually the worst neighborhood in professional tennis. High enough to skip qualifying, too low to be protected from the top seeds early in a draw. So you do the work of a top 20 player and get eliminated by one before the tournament has genuinely begun. The only way out is a tour title, and winning one from that position means beating 3 or 4 elite players in a row with zero protection. And then, Washington. She arrived ranked 28th, beat an Olympic champion, the defending champion, then Naomi Osaka in the semifinal, and walked into the final against world number 3 Jessica Pegula, already guaranteed a spot in the top 25. Rain split the final across 2 days. She went to sleep down a set, knowing exactly what winning was worth, because the number had already been printed in the papers back home. She came back the next afternoon and closed it out, surrendering almost nothing in the deciding set. Here is what that 20 actually buys. First, this was her first tour-level title. She already owned 2 lower-tier trophies, to be precise, but the top-tier door stayed shut until Monday. Second, she is out of that dead zone for as long as she holds this ranking, right as the US Open arrives in 3 weeks. Third, and this matters most, those 500 points are brand new, not points recovered from something about to expire. The debt from Miami is finally settled with a different financial asset. There's a detail from the trophy ceremony worth sitting with. Pegula, the player who had just lost, talked about first facing Eala in Miami and being confused by a stadium suddenly full of Filipino fans she didn't expect. She said, looking back now, it makes complete sense. That's the whole arc in one sentence from the person on the losing end of it. And that crowd is the real story behind the money, because prize checks are not how top players actually get wealthy. Endorsements are, and endorsements are priced on audience, not ranking. All season Eala has played in front of packed, loud sections of Filipino fans on 3 continents, loud enough that umpires have asked for quiet. Her commercial value has been running ahead of her actual ranking for a year. Washington is just the moment the ranking finally caught up. Look at the ladder here. Top 100 in Miami, 2025. Top 40 by February. Wins over Elena Rybakina and Alina Svitolina in Berlin. A title in Birmingham. A win over Swiatek at Wimbledon. Then Washington. 9 wins over top 10 players, 7 of them since January. She's also the first Filipino player this tournament had ever seen enter its draw at all, meaning there was no national record to chase, because none existed. She created the first one. That's what changed on Monday. Not a number in a bank account, but proof. A parent deciding whether tennis is worth the sacrifice now has a verifiable answer instead of a hope. But points expire in exactly 52 weeks, and for the first time in her career she'll walk into tournaments as the one being hunted instead of the one doing the hunting. That test starts in New York, where she'll also play mixed doubles for the first time, in a field that includes Novak Djokovic. I'm covering every round of it. So if you want to see whether 20 was the ceiling or just the first door, stay close, because I don't think this ends here.